Hi guys, today I'm going to record my session around creating a positive mindset. So this is part 3 of the idea that our mind is something separate from us, and if you wanted to watch activity 12 and activity 19 first, it will give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. But to basically recap, we were using this owl as a prompt to understand that our mind is a separate thing from us. So our thoughts and our beliefs don't define who we are. They are basically memories that our mind has remembered. So as an example, we will go through our life subconsciously taking in messages about our surroundings, about people, and they will create our beliefs about how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our life and things like that. So an example is, we have been led in the past to believe, for example, that the colour pink is for a girl and the colour blue is for a boy. And some of us believe that so much that if we are boys, we won't wear pink, or if we are girls, we think blue is for a boy. Or sometimes we'll rebel against that, and if we're a girl, sometimes we might hate pink because we think it's girly. So that's just a classic example of how we can be convinced about an idea so much that it affects how we behave and how we see the world. And that's just one simple example. So that was part 1 in activity 12, where I talked about how we get our ideas about ourselves and about the world from other places and other people. Part 2, I looked at, or I encouraged you guys to listen to your thoughts and get to know yourself a little bit better, without getting cross with yourself, but basically just to write a list or have a chat with a grown-up about all of your thoughts that you could think of about how you feel about yourself. So some of your thoughts would have been good and some of them might have not been as good. And then what I encouraged you to do was decide which thoughts you liked and which thoughts you didn't. What I'm going to do today is follow on from that by picking just one thought that you want to focus on to change. So from your list or from your conversation, think of a thought that you have about yourself that you don't like, that is basically doesn't make you feel good, it doesn't make you feel confident, and it makes you not like yourself, maybe. So when you've done that, when you've picked the thought that you want to change, you're going to do a little activity, and I've recorded a thought shower for you as an example. And you can do this activity in lots of different ways depending on how you learn and how you think. So some of you might want to write down the thought that you're getting rid of in the middle of a piece of paper, which is what I've done. Some of you might want to do this with a grown-up and get your grown-up to write down things for you. Some of you might just want to have a chat with a grown-up and talk about your thought and talk about how you're going to change it. Everybody thinks differently, so some of you might want to use your character toy, some of you might want to use the toy that you've chosen as your mind. So some of you might want to have a conversation with a cuddly toy about this. So you might, for example, if your thought, and the thought I'm going to focus on today, just as an example, is the negative thought or the idea that I'm not clever. So that's the thought that I've chosen as an example to show you how to do that. So if you chose the thought, I'm not clever, you might have a conversation with your owl about it, with your mind about it. And some of you might do it in a way like I've done, where you've written your thought down instead. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get the thought that you are choosing to change. You're going to write it down, tell a grown-up, talk to your owl, or whatever you choose to do. When you've done that, you are going to think of opposites. So you are going to think of thoughts that basically are the opposite of this thought. The obvious opposite of I'm not clever is I am clever. but we're going to be even more creative than that. So I'm going to move this a little bit closer because I don't know if you can see them all where you guys are. Move it back a little. So we are going to really delve into our thinking, and we're going to create some lovely new thoughts because we want to get rid of the belief that we are not clever. So I'm going to talk through the different thoughts that I've put here that will help your mind learn a new way. So we are then going to talk to our owl, and we're going to do a bit of tapping to help us embed the new thoughts instead. So instead of thinking that you're not clever, you could think, my ideas and thoughts are important. My creativity can't be measured. I think we live in a world where we are often measured. We're given numbers to our abilities, and some things we can't measure, and some of the most wonderful things that we can offer to the world cannot be measured and cannot be given a number. This is not my thought. Very important. That was the first one I wrote down actually. It's very important to remember that these thoughts aren't ours. They are not, they came from somewhere. We don't need to know where they came from, but somebody convinced us that this was true. We weren't born thinking that thought. We learned it somewhere. Our owl heard it somewhere and has remembered it and keeps repeating it back to us. So it's really, really important to remember that these thoughts don't belong to us. We don't have to keep them. I'm clever in lots of ways. So similar to like I've just said about measuring our cleverness, we are clever in so many different ways that can't be measured and that can't be given a number. So we might be clever in ways that we don't even know about yet because we maybe haven't had an opportunity to realise that. I have a special way of learning. We all learn differently. Being clever isn't the most important thing to be, and that is very, very true. I'm creative. I take my time to learn, and that's okay. So some of us will take a lovely long amount of time to learn something, and that is lovely. That means that we are really enjoying the process of learning, and we're taking our time. We're not rushing. We're not so keen to reach the end and so keen to reach the outcome that we're actually just going through life at a lovely leisurely pace. And sometimes that's not appreciated, but I think it's great to take our time. I learn in my own way. Again, we're all different. I love to think and learn differently. I have ideas that are different, and again, it's about having ideas that we maybe haven't tapped into yet. We've got lots and lots of time to realise how much we can offer. Not everyone will get me, and that's okay. Sometimes if we think we're not clever, it's because maybe we haven't been understood by people that we've come into contact with, and it can make us feel like our ideas are wrong, or that we're getting it wrong, and that we aren't very clever. But we're just different. Not everybody will get us. Not everybody will get the way we think, and that's okay. Okay, so those are the thought showers for the example of not feeling like you're very clever. When you've done that, you can choose your way of changing your mind. So you can either create a poster, maybe if you want to do it artistically, you could create a poster with all of your lovely new thoughts on. You could write your little thoughts down on sticky notes and stick them around your house so that you see them all the time and it reminds you how wonderful you are. You might want to use your little owl, your mind, and you might want to say to your owl, I love to think and learn differently. I am clever. Everybody thinks and learns in a different way. Basically, you're going to tell your owl your lovely thoughts so that your owl can then remember them, your mind, and it can start repeating back to you lovely thoughts instead of the ones that don't work for us. Some of you might want to do the tapping, which I'm going to show you now. So if you're using tapping to create your new positive thoughts, it's very effective because not only are you repeating lovely positive words to yourself, but you're also tapping out any negative feelings that you already have. So it kind of works on your thoughts and your feelings at the same time, which is very, very powerful. So I'm just going to remind you of the tapping. So either hand, and you're going to tap and you're going to say to yourself all of your lovely new thoughts. So you might just talk how you feel. So you might say, I haven't been feeling very clever. Somewhere along the way, I learned that I wasn't very clever. Some people convinced me that I wasn't clever, and I've remembered that and I've believed that it was true. But I'm now choosing to let that thought go. I accept that that was never my thought. It wasn't my belief to have. And I can now choose to let that thought go. I know I'm clever. I think in ways that some people don't understand, and that's okay. I have lots of ways of expressing myself, and I learn in different ways to other people. I take my time to understand things, and I accept that I don't need to rush. There is plenty of time to learn. Life is not a race. I don't need to race to get to any finish line. I can take as long as I need to learn new things. I have ideas that are different to other people's, and I love learning about things that interest me. And when I do that, I can take in lots of information, and it makes me feel happy. And I forget time. I am clever in ways that can't be measured. There are no numbers that can tell me how much I am worth as a person. I feel clever, and I'm excited to learn. And then you can take a nice deep breath when you've done your tapping and let it go. And you might do your tapping for a long, long time. That was obviously a very quick example of how the tapping works. But you're basically talking through your feelings and you're giving yourself new thoughts. When you first start writing out your new thoughts, you might need a grown-up to help you, because sometimes we can't change our minds and we just think it's rubbish. I'm not clever. I can't even accept any of those new thoughts. That's okay, because our mind is very stubborn, and it requires a lot of practice to get it to change. But don't give up. I've given you quite a few different ideas of doing this. So you can draw a poster, you can use your sticky notes, you can use your tapping, you can chat with your mind, you can chat with a grown-up, and you can start to think a little differently. I cannot wait to see you all guys in person. I'm missing you lots. I hope you are all very well, and I will catch you later. Bye bye.